Good luck to Joe Joyce as well. He's looking to put himself firmly in the frame for a world title shot this summer by seeing off fellow hard-hitting giant Zhilei Zhang. That's on Saturday night at the Copper Box Arena in London. Spencer Oliver, talkSPORT's fight pundit, joins us live from the press conference. And Spencer, you've got a very special guest alongside you.
I have, guys. We're here with George Warren. George Warren obviously is promoting this show on Saturday night, and we are expecting something quite spectacular. We've got a great undercard as well, but this main event, Zhilei Zhang, who's a 2008 Beijing Olympic silver medalist, goes in against Joe Joyce, who's a 2012 Olympic silver medalist. A lot on the line here for both guys, and we're expecting fireworks. Look, two huge guys with a massive punch. None of these guys are going to take a backward step. And George, actually, we are looking forward to something quite special, aren't we?
I think it's going to be a special night. You know what you're going to get with Joe. He cannot help but be in entertaining fights. He always is. That performance against Joseph Parker was devastating. It was brutal at times, but he just finds a way to steamroll through these guys. He took maybe more shots than as his promoter I would like to see him take, but he obviously feels comfortable that he can do so, and feels that he can break these guys down. And I expect similar things tonight, where we're all maybe having to look through our fingers at times when he's taking these shots back from a big guy, but I expect him to get the job done.
I mean, let's talk a little bit about Zhilei Zhang. He's a southpaw. He boxed last time out on the Alexander Usyk Anthony Joshua undercard last August against Filip Hrgovic, who's highly ranked, IBF #1, I believe, but a very, very well-ranked fighter. And a lot of people felt he won that fight against Hrgovic. There was times there when Hrgovic looked like he didn't want to be in that fight. He was put down and he pulled it back just towards the end. But this just tells you the caliber of opponent that we've got in Zhang here.
He's a world-class fighter. Like you say, you don't win silver medals and not be a good fighter. Let's get it right. And Zhilei is a credible, big punching, good jab, good, solid heavyweight. That fight you're talking about with Hrgovic, I thought he won the fight. I don't think there was a huge amount in it, but actually I think he was on the end of a bad decision there. I don't expect the same on Saturday night. I think Joe Joyce's level's above Hrgovic, no disrespect to him, but I think he'll show that he is really the guy that outside of the top four that everyone talks about, he's the guy that's going to be breaking into that, and the one that everyone's going to have to pay attention to.
So that's sort of what we're looking forward to here on Saturday night with the top of the bill, guys.
I mean, Spence, I agree with what George said in terms of the devastation that Joe Joyce brings. I mean, I go back to the Daniel Dubois. Since then and before, when he was with David Haye, I just thought this guy is on the upward trajectory. I've said this many times, and he's on his way to a world title. With Zhilei Zhang, obviously, his last fight, again, I agree with you. I thought he beat Filip Hrgovic, to be honest. I thought he outworked him. The only thing towards the end is his stamina went. Do you think this could be the failing of him in this fight when Joe Joyce has got such a good engine?
Well, this is the telling factor between these two. You know, stylistically, they both like to come, they both like to have a fight, and they're both very heavy-handed. The difference between the two is Joe Joyce has got a great engine. He actually gets stronger as the fight goes on. And Zhilei Zhang, who's very, very dangerous in the first half of the contest, dies down the back stretch, and that's where this fight could be won and lost. But, look, Joe Joyce can't take this fight lightly, because we know how heavy-handed, we know how dangerous Zhang is, and we know how much Joe Joyce likes to have a fight. So yeah, it's a very risky fight for Joe Joyce at this stage of his career. Obviously, he's the WBO mandatory or WBO interim champion. So there's big fights out there, you know, looming for him at the moment. The heavyweight division at the moment, we really don't know what's going on at the top of the division. There's so many moving parts, but Joyce is a big part of that.
I want to see what you both think about this. Do you think Zhilei Zhang has got enough power? I mean, if Joe Joyce wants to get in with the likes of Wilder and Tyson Fury, do you think he has to come through this and show that he can take the big punches off these big guys?
I mean, I'll go with that first, George. I mean, Zhilei Zhang is a 20-stone guy who can whack. He's got very quick hands for a guy of his size, but he's very heavy-handed. Like, I refer back to this Filip Hrgovic fight, because that was the fight, a coming-of-age fight for Zhang, really, where you go, is he really world level? And we looked at him there, and Hrgovic there was times when he went to pull out of that fight, and he was times when he was hurt. He's a southpaw, which Joe Joyce hasn't boxed many southpaws before. He poses big problems, doesn't he? That's probably the best way of saying it.
It's a big problem night for Joe. He's got to be on his A game. And look, he's the WBO interim champion of the world. He's sitting there mandatory for the current holder, which is Alexander Usyk. Obviously, Daniel Dubois has got something to say about Usyk retaining that belt when we see those two fight this summer. That fight's been ordered, but he's going to get his shot. He's going to get his shot at that full champion, or they're going to have to vacate that title. Joe Joyce could have very easily just stayed still. He could have had a routine defence, just a soft one, but that's not in his character. He keeps wanting challenges, and he's entertaining. I think the British fight fans now have got a new hero in him, and they're starting to just believe that this guy may be the guy that can go and do really, really exciting things.
I mean, that says a lot for Joe Joyce, doesn't it? The position, like you said there, Jules, the position he's in and the fight that he's taken, outside of the hardcore boxing fans, no one will really know Zhilei Zhang, but we do, and we know what problems he poses and how dangerous he is, being a southpaw as well. I mean, you've got to respect Joe Joyce. In a world that we live in, where politics get in the way of all these big fights happening, Joe Joyce has stepped up to the plate and he's took this fight, and it is a dangerous one.
Absolutely. And look, he did the same with Joseph Parker. He didn't have to take that fight. He was mandatory already with the WBO. That is the type of guy he wants. He is one of the easiest guys to work with when it comes to making fights, if the opponent wants to fight him. The problem with Joe is finding guys that actually want to take him on, because he's such hard work. He's a hard fight. Win, lose or draw, you fight Joe Joyce, you're in for a serious night's work.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to something special with that top of the bill.
Yeah, and guys, one of the other big rumours during the round this lunchtime is a potential 3-fight Saudi deal. Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder in December. Then the rumour is the winners will meet. Usyk against Daniel Dubois and Fury against Andy Ruiz, potentially happening before that. What can you tell us?
Listen, I've heard those rumours as well, and if that is true, I mean, that is exciting. Yes, it will be out in the Middle East, and we will finally get to know who is the #1 heavyweight of the modern era right now. But I reckon you should throw that question to Mr. Warren, because he's sitting here with a smile on his face, and he may know something that I don't.
Listen, I might know a lot that you don't, but no, look, I'm not going to comment on speculation. Look, they're good people out in Saudi Arabia. What they're trying to do with boxing, they are investing in the sport, and full credit to them. Where we sit today, we've got a great fight on Saturday night. Joe Joyce wants to break into that elite level of the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury's going to have his own plans. We're catching up with him next week to see if he wants to fight in the UK in the summer. That's the next question that we're going to be asking him. But as I always say, if people want to be interested in our fights and fighters and put those names in the mix for potential opportunities, all they've got to do is speak to us, make the offers, give us the dates. But right now, a lot of it's speculation.
Right. That wasn't a no,
yeah.
Darren Ambrose, was it?
That
definitely wasn't a no.
That wasn't a no. George, I just want to ask you quickly, George, in terms of Joe Joyce, if he does come through this fight with those 3 fights that rumoured to be happening in Saudi, where does that leave Joe? I mean, how likely will we see a Joyce versus Joshua showdown?
Well, look, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Anthony Joshua. I can only speak on behalf of Joe Joyce, and I think he's made it clear already this fight week. He would love that fight. He would take that fight if it was offered to him 100%, not a problem. I think he's showing that. We're talking about taking a tough fight here in Zhilei Zhang. He doesn't shy away from things. That's a big domestic fight. But I can only go off of what I'm reading. I'm not a representative of Anthony Joshua. It seems at the moment that he said that he's going to take some time out and not fight till December. So that in effect rules him out for Joe as a summer fight. Joe will want to keep fighting. He wants to stay active. He is the mandatory for the current WBO heavyweight champion of the world, who is Alexander Usyk. I soon hope will be Daniel Dubois. That fight will get called for Joe, and if the holder of that title doesn't defend that belt against him, it means they have to vacate it. Joe is a world champion, so he's in a great position. But no, he never shies away from fights. He would definitely take that fight if it was there to be made.
So, I think what we've learned about Joe Joyce is... Sorry, guys, I was saying, I think what we've learnt about Joe Joyce is, not just this week, but, in the build-up to this fight and previous fights, is he wants to fight the best. He doesn't care if this title's on the line. He wants the big names in the division. That's where he's at right now, Joe Joyce, and whether that is Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder, he's happy to take them all on.
Is there a frustration, though, that Daniel Dubois is potentially getting that shot at Usyk and not Joe Joyce after how their fight went?
Well, I mean, look, I'm sure that Joe's frustrated, but there's nothing. You know, we obviously represent Daniel Dubois, we represent Joe Joyce as well, and we represent Tyson Fury. So it's a great problem for us, but it is a problem trying to keep everyone happy. But at the end of the day, we didn't set the rotational system. What everyone's got to appreciate here is Alexander Usyk is a unified champion. He holds the WBO, WBA, and IBF versions of the World Heavyweight Championships. Tyson Fury holding the WBC. The sanctioning bodies have set what they call a rotational system, where they in turn take their opportunity to invoke their mandatory challenger on that unified champion. It's to ensure that Usyk doesn't have to vacate titles and he gets the opportunity to defend those belts regularly without having to vacate them. So you've got to respect the system. It just so happens to be that Daniel is in the position with the WBA and they're next and the WBO isn't. But Joe's just got to keep focused. He's got to focus on fight night. He's got to focus on performing well, putting that pressure on these big guys, and then trust me, eventually these big fights will happen for him.
And I also interviewed Joe Joyce actually on Tuesday, and I threw that question to him, that was it a frustration that Daniel Dubois, a guy that he had previously beaten, gets the shot before him at Alexander Usyk. He said, you know what, I'm not bothered about that. My time will come. I'm the interim champion. I'm ready and prepared whenever that is. But yeah, things like that really don't bother Joe Joyce. He just wants the big fights. Yeah, so he's happy for it whenever it is. He believes he's going to get that title shot, and this is just another step towards that.
Let's just finish with you then, Spence. A quick prediction on how it will go. Zhilei Zhang versus Joe Joyce.
Well, one thing I can guarantee is fireworks. I think both guys are going to lock horns early. None of these guys know how to take a backward step. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be explosive. But I expect Joyce to wear him down in the second half of the fight. Probably around 7 or 8 rounds. I expect Joyce to start getting to him, and I expect a late stoppage.
There you go. You heard it here first.